It's the 29th day of April, one more day before the fourth month of the year 2024 comes to an end. We hope that you've had a very good month so far and that you had a good weekend. Thank you very much for joining us. Good morning and welcome to Breakfast Central. I am Olive Emodi.
And I am Osaogi Ogbon. Welcome to a Monday morning on Breakfast Central. We have, of course, the latest, biggest stories happening here in Nigeria. Bits and pieces in parts of the continent also coming your way in the next 2 hours. Here in Nigeria, of course, there's a fresh petrol scarcity that Nigerians are having to deal with, in the last couple of days, and it might get worse with no proper explanation from the government as to why exactly petrol is scarce. But maybe Adebola will, of course, have some information for us. Good morning, Adebola.
Good morning, Osagi and Olive. It's good to be here. Happy Monday to both of you. Talking about fuel scarcity. Well, I don't know if I have a solution to that. But it's quite shocking that last week, NNPC was saying there is no need for panic buying, there's enough fuel to go around, and then this week we've seen a hike in fuel scarcities. Even the prices, discrepancy in prices of these, of petrol. Some states are selling for as high as 2,000 naira per liter. A state like Kwara State, you get fuel, the PMS, for as high as 2,000 naira per liter. I mean, it's just crazy, from 670 to 700 to 800, and now as far high as 2,000 naira per liter. Yeah. I just feel this is not the best of times, for all of these. We're still battling with the rise in prices of goods and services. To topple, and then to add that to the hike in fuel prices, it's not just the best of times for Nigeria.
I think that one thing, it's unfortunate that we have come to accept that every week or every other week that we feel scarcity in Nigeria. So subconsciously, I've become so traumatized that not only do I look for every opportunity to top up my fuel because I'm afraid of what it will cost me to fill it from the ground up, but also because I'm afraid that I could buy fuel today and in the next 1 hour there'll be fuel scarcity, and that's one. But I did speak with a petroleum, he's one of the petroleum marketers, and of course he didn't want to be mentioned. And one of the perspectives that I was given was the fact that these NNPC doesn't sell to them until they are completely empty. So even if they wanted to go and stock up, they will tell them, go and empty your stash. When you are completely empty, come back. And they won't sell to them until they are completely empty. So the time between when they're completely empty and when they're able to have a proper refill and then transmit, come back and sell to us is what breeds a bit of scarcity. That's one. And then two, that there are certain brands, and I'm hoping that this is not true, there are certain brands that would easily get fuel first before the others. Some of them have claimed to have to cut corners to be able to get fuel, and of course that would then be reflected in their prices. These are some of the things that I've heard in the streets, and I hope that it's something that can be looked into, because it's causing a lot of inconvenience for Nigerians. Buying fuel at, you did say 2,000. I haven't seen 2,000. One I know I've heard of is 900 naira. 2,000 I'm believing is the black market. But it's a rough time for Nigerians who are trying to make ends meet, struggling to survive, and now having to deal with not just expensive fuel, but even scarcity of the commodity. It's not a good look.
Very true, but regardless of what the explanation is, it's still failure of somebody's, there's somebody's role, that is failing here. And, unfortunately, I don't remember any time that the Nigerian government has, taken it upon themselves to ensure that this doesn't happen. Or, made sure that, somebody is punished when we have 1 week, 2 weeks of petrol scarcity. You wouldn't get any explanation. You wouldn't get anybody sanctioned. You wouldn't get anybody, cautioned. We're just going to survive, the whole stress, move on, because mostly those in government don't get affected by petrol scarcity. They're not going to be affected. Nobody in the National Assembly will be affected. Nobody in Government House will be affected. Nobody in Aso Rock will be affected. So it's never really their problem, and no matter how much Nigerians complain, nobody cares. Nobody's going to be on their feet all day today to ensure that it is sorted out. And that's what the reality is. I'm still talking about electricity. Getting 10, if you're on a really good day, you probably get 8 to 10 hours of electricity. But I'm still being charged 225 naira. I still, will get 20 units for 5,000 naira, 40 units for 10,000 naira. It's crazy. And for me, it's really just, when do Nigerians catch a breath? You know, for 1 week, give Nigerians 1 or 2 weeks where there is no new thing that is just choking, you know, the average Nigerian.
I mean, last week it was we ended the week with the DSTV increase, subscription increase.
And I don't mind. Yeah, I mean, they're free to increase whatever they want.
So this week there's going to be something else. Just brace yourself up. Adebola, we will have you joining us to bring the breakfast headlines shortly.
Hello and welcome to Breakfast Headlines. I am Adebola Adeduba. We begin the news in West Africa, where Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has extended his heartfelt condolences to the families of the victims of the fire incident caused by an articulated vehicle conveying petroleum products at the Eleme section of the East-West Road in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. No fewer than 5 persons died in Saturday disaster, which also destroyed more than dozens of vehicles and scourged goods worth estimated billions. Commiserating with the government and people of Rivers State on its strategy, President Tinubu prayed for the speedy recovery of those injured in the incident. In the meantime, President Bola Tinubu has insisted that his government's decision to remove petrol subsidy was very necessary to prevent the country from going bankrupt. President Tinubu announced the removal of subsidy on petrol the day he was inaugurated into office with the popular "Subsidy is Gone" speech. Speaking as one of the panelists at the ongoing World Economic Forum in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on Sunday, Tinubu justified the petrol subsidy removal, maintaining it was needed to reset the economy.
Concerning the question of the subsidy removal, there's no doubt that it was a necessary action for my country not to go bankrupt. One, to reset the economy and the pathway to growth. It is going to be difficult, but the hallmark of leadership is taking difficult decisions at a time it ought to be taken decisively. That was necessary for the country. Yes, there have been blowback. There is expectation that the difficulty in it will be felt by a greater number of the people. But for once, I believe it was their interest that is the focus of the government. It is easier to manage and explain.
Meanwhile, Lagosians and Nigerians nationwide are facing growing frustration as fuel scarcity continues to grip the country. This is coming despite assurances from the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited that logistical hurdles hindering fuel distribution had been resolved. Many Nigerians have expressed anger and disappointment at the continued scarcity, questioning the effectiveness of the NNPCL's claimed solutions. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project has taken legal action against the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited over its alleged failure to account for staggering $2.04 billion and 164 billion naira. SERAP's move comes in response to revelations outlined in the 2020 audited report by the Auditor General of the Federation. According to SERAP, the report indicates that NNPCL failed to remit these substantial sums into the Federation account, raising suspicions of possible diversion. One of the campaign coordinators of Ondo State Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa, Alaba Abe, has been assassinated. Abe, who served as award coordinator for the Lucky Ayedatiwa campaign organization Foot Soldiers, was killed at his home in Sopara, Akoko Southwest local government area of the state. The Director General, David Ajobiewa, who condemned the killing of Abe, stated that the deceased wasn't a violent person. A Kano Federal High Court has stepped into the ongoing power struggle within the All Progressives Congress. Justice A.M. Liman issued a restraining order preventing the faction of the party's Ganduje Ward Executive Committee in Kano State from suspending National Chairman Abdullahi Umaru Ganduje. This decision comes after Ganduje's lawyer, Adiza Nasir Ahmed, filed an ex parte application amidst rising tensions within the party. Reactions have continued to trail the demolition of buildings in the right-of-way of the Lagos-Calabar coastal road. The exercise was flagged off by the Minister of Works, David Umahi. The demolition exercise began at the Manichola Beach, Oniru waterfront on Saturday. The minister said compensation for owners of the affected structures has been adequately factored into the project and urged those affected to see the greater good of the project. And that's a wrap on Breakfast Headlines. It's back to Olive and Osage.
Thank you so much, Adebola, for bringing us Breakfast Headlines. Very unfortunate update there regarding Excel Abe, the man who was murdered from Aiyedatiwa's team. Politics shouldn't have to be so dirty. It shouldn't have to be so chaotic. It shouldn't be a do or die affair. If you genuinely there, I mean, it just further reveals that a number of people who are there for political reasons aren't necessarily there to make a change. A number of people are just there because they want to amass power and amass wealth for themselves. It shouldn't have to be dirty. And I hope that the police is able to get to the bottom of this case, unravel what happened, and find out who the killers were and what their motive was.
Absolutely, Olive. And talking about politics being dirty, still in Ondo State, recall, a few months ago, or last month actually, we had Paul Akintelore who died, and he was also an aspirant for the APC governorship ticket. And now we're having another person in the camp of Lucky Aiyedatiwa who has passed on. Like you rightly mentioned.
Not just passed on, let's call it what it was. I mean, the papers report it as murdered,
assassinated rather, yes.
Exactly.
I mean, I say that to say, in support of what she said, politics doesn't have to be dirty. Probably we should try to make it less attractive for those trying to get into offices, and to just find a way to ensure we get people who are actually, there for the good of the people, those there to deliver the dividends of democracy to the people indeed, and not about what the office has to offer.
Yeah, I agree, of course, and also on the story with the president defending his decision to end petrol subsidy payments. I've repeatedly said it, that I feel like the Nigerian government still needs to be honest with Nigerians as to whether it's still paying subsidy or not. If it claims to have ended subsidy but is still paying subsidy, according to the former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai. And once again, because if you look at what the dollar naira exchange rate has been, it almost doesn't make any sense that Nigerians are still paying, as crazy as 600 naira a litre is, it still doesn't make a lot of sense. If you look at the landing cost of petrol, or what the landing cost of petrol should be at dollar exchange for 1,000 naira, 1,200, even 1,700. So somehow, some way, their expectations that the government is still paying subsidy. And so the president or the presidency should, be honest with Nigerians as to what exactly subsidy might still be costing Nigeria. And, if we're expected, to pay more for petrol in the near future or not. But of course, that's if we will get that honesty, we'll see. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you again at 9.
You're welcome.
The Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, has flagged off the demolition of structures on the government's right-of-way for the construction of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. Umahi began the demolition after he inspected kilometers 13, 16, and 20 to ensure the most economical and viable way to access the coastal roads without much damage.
The minister noted that no structure belonging to the landmark beach resort was demolished, adding that only shanties erected on the government's right-of-way were affected, and those affected by the demolition will be adequately compensated, adding that documentation will start from the 2nd to the 3rd of May. We have a video clip there of the demolition going on. Later on, we'll be joined by our correspondent, Adeshewa Odushoga, who will be bringing updates from Landmark. But it's important to mention that sand filling is currently going on. Sand filling has been going on, according to the report, and demolition has started. Now, whilst we hear the minister, I would really like when Cheryl joins us for us to look deeper into this conversation. Whilst we hear the minister saying that the properties and the businesses will not be affected, it's only the right of way. It's important to mention that the reason why those businesses are lucrative, or the reason why I as a customer will approach or patronize such businesses is because of their location. I can eat anywhere on the island. I can have several experiences anywhere on the island. but the fact that they're located by the beach gives it a certain je ne sais quoi. I want to be able to eat and be overlooking the water. I want to be able to, go karting, and then there's the wind. I've been to that beach a number of times at night, So if you're saying you're not demolishing the businesses, you're not affecting any business, it's only the shanties you're affecting, I wonder how much of the water will be left when they're done. I think that's where I sort of need some clarity, and I'm hoping that Adeshewa Odushoga will be joining us to give clarity, because if they're completely filling the larger part of the beach, then it takes away from the purpose of it being referred to as that landmark beach hub where where young Nigerians within the country and even those outside the country come and see as a place for fun. So again, my heart goes out to the businesses that will be affected, even though, yes, he did say that there's going to be compensation, but I wonder what the compensation will do in terms of looking at how much they've invested. Are they going to be able to get back the costs, factoring in inflation as well? How much they've invested in their business, factoring in inflation? It's just a lot to really look at that story.
Yeah, but I think, for most of the conversations, have been very, very, overly, sensitized to make it look like it's a tribal issue, because the owner of the landmark, beach resort is from a part of the country or the other. And also talking about, the way these things are going to affect those involved, staff, that are going to lose their jobs and some of all of that, which, they're fair arguments. But at the same time, we also need to look at, the economic aspect to it, and the benefits that the Nigerian government, is expecting that it would afford, the country. It's not a tribal, it's an economic, I believe it's an economic argument. Can they both, and I did speak about this earlier, can these, two different items exist side by side somehow, some way? I believe so. There has to be some way, some engineering pathway through which, these two can exist, can coexist rather. Maybe not in the exact form that it currently is, taken, but, somehow, some way. And bear in mind that if there was not this, they say it's $100 million investment, that created landmark beach resort. If there wasn't that investment, we will be having this argument today.
That's exactly what I was just thinking about
there was Bar Beach that was eventually abandoned and demolished, I believe it was for the building of the Eco-Atlantic property. So there wasn't anything there for anybody to be fighting over now if a private citizen, private individual didn't bring his own money and, invest, according to them, $100 million into it. So all these clamoring,
$250 million.
Even if it's $1 billion, doesn't matter. The point is, there was Bar Beach there. Bar Beach was kicked out or abandoned because what the government had better use for that place. And the Bar Beach that people, Lagosians used to enjoy in the 90s, eventually, went off. That hasn't existed for so long, and so the whole clamoring now is really just because of a private, individual's investment, which is fair enough, and should not be, discredited. But I just feel once again that they can coexist somehow, some way. And then second, there is definitely some value to the construction of this road from Lagos to Calabar. Bear in mind that there's meant to be the east-west road. I think there's meant to be an east-west road that has not received funding for many, many years. It was part of, a previous government's plans. It didn't receive funding, has not moved an inch, and so, that has been abandoned. This one now, of course, is pretty much achieving the same thing, but they have to, of course, give it a different name and call it the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. So there's many aspects of it, that might sound like they're a little troubling. And I just want to throw in the final thing is that the company that is handling the project to build the coastal highway is owned by the same people that own Eco-Atlantic.
Yeah, I think that's been something that's been a major
There's that part also.
Right.
Yeah. High-Tech is also owned by the people who own the Eco-Atlantic. So eyebrows would definitely be raised, with regards to some of these things, as to what exactly is going on here. The amount of money that has been budgeted for it, how we certain, 100% that it will actually extend all the way to Calabar in the time frame that has been stated, or they're just going to do the Lagos part and everybody just moves on. So I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell.
Indeed, time will tell. Now we'll come back to talk about that even more when we're joined by our correspondent Adeshewa Odushoga, who will be bringing us live report from Landmark Beach. But let's talk about something that all Nigerians can relate to. Nigerians have expressed displeasure over the rising cost of utility bills, which are becoming more difficult to pay. This is as the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission and pay TV operator MultiChoice have announced price increases in their services, blaming the cost of business operations for the hike. Marvelous Obumanu spoke to some residents in the EFCC. Let's take a look.
Many Nigerians say they are grappling with providing basic essential needs for their families. While traders are complaining of poor sales due to scarce resources, salary earners have not been spared as they try to balance their income and expenditure. Payment of utility bills as it stands today in Nigeria is becoming difficult with the current increase in their prices. Talk about the hike in electricity tariff, talk about the subscription for GoTV and DSTV. Some Nigerians are saying they can no longer afford to pay these bills, which are of necessity to them because salaries are constant.
The tariff is a very serious issue because even myself, I pay, they refuse to give me meter, so I pay, estimated bill, and I pay 25,000 every month, which is so exorbitant. And when you check the high cost of living, if you put 25,000 for electricity tariff alone, then what are you going to spend? How much are you earning and how much is going out?
Since 1960 till now, Nigeria is still dragging with light. It's a very big shame to us. And they say Nigeria is the giant of Africa. And even other Africa countries, they even make use of the light, more judicial more than us.
If you are buying a card of 20,000, it will last up to a month, roughly 2 weeks or 3 weeks at max. But the thing is just, I don't know. I don't really know. They should try and work on it. I don't know. They should just try and do something about it. People are really dying.
I live in the outskirts, Buhari. They placed me on band 1. I even bought a unit, giving me 500 naira 1 unit. And after even trying to load the token refused. I was asked to come to the office and do upgrading. I want them to move me away from the band here. I don't understand. Honestly, it's terrible and it's painful.
The cost of other utility bills like DSTV and GoTV have also been increased, leaving Nigerians with no choice other than to pay the current subscription price. The big question is, how are Nigerians coping with a stable monthly income but soaring prices of utility bills?
You can imagine subscribing your DSTV for 18,000 naira, 20,000 naira to watch what? So it's too much.
Over time, I think they should have been able to come up with something that will substitute that, if not even create a competition in the market.
Despite years of public investment, Nigeria has the lowest access to electricity globally. About 92 million persons out of over 200 million citizens lack access to power. In Abuja for News Central, Marvelous Obumanu.
Thank you very much, Marvelous Obumanu, for echoing the thoughts of Nigerians. And I know that it's not just in the FCT. All around the country, there's been complaints. It's just felt like Nigerians really let Nigerians breathe. That's what it feels like. One issue after the other. If it's not light, electricity tariff, it's, not just exorbitant electricity tariff, but the fact that it's not even there. The power is not even meeting the promise that was made. Then there's fuel scarcity, there's the exorbitant fuel prices, there's the rising cost of goods. We had the Naira gaining strength, and there was a lot of excitement. The cost of food, we started to see it reflecting gradually. The price of rice reduced. Now the dollar has gained against the Naira again, and it just feels like we're back to square one. This year has been a really, really rough patch for Nigerians. It feels like when President Bola Tinubu said, "Let the poor breathe," it feels like at that point he was sort of talking about Nigerians.
Yeah, very true. I think we spoke about this earlier. I don't want to overflog it, but also to once again say that I don't agree with the complaints concerning DSTV. It's a private business. And if every other person has increased their prices of goods and services across the country or anywhere, they might as well do the same because they also need to fund their business. They can't continue to, this is my argument, if you want to stone me outside, that's fine. They can't continue to, of course, manage, with rates of 2 years ago when every little thing that has to do with running their business has increased in prices. They're also buying petrol at 600 naira per litre. exactly before they have to pack shop and, and leave the country. Nobody wants that. So we should stop complaining. If we want competition, the government should establish.
I mean, we'll complain. That one, complaints, we can't do away with complaining.
Yeah, but making it seem like it is a personal attack on Nigerians and DSTV, I don't agree with that. It's their business. And if they feel like they need to, increase prices to, make ends meet and, of course, fund their running costs, then they should. Anyway, let's move away from the Federal Capital Territory and, of course, complaining about electricity prices and go to Rivers State, where the Rivers State Governor, Sim Fubara, has once again insisted that he will not allow any external influence to determine the way he runs his administration or govern the state on bended knees, no matter the political currents.
I've said it over and over. It doesn't matter the number of people that are standing with me. I will stand on that side of truth. I will not, I repeat, govern our dear state on my knees. If that was the purpose, I will not do that. I will stand to govern our dear state and to stand continually on the side of right.
Now, Fubara, who has been having a running battle with his predecessor, Nyesom Wike, as well as loyalists in the FCT, loyalists of the FCT minister since he assumed office, made a vow during a courtesy visit to the former governor, Celestine Umehia, at his country home to offer condolences on the passing of his mother, Ezinne Cecilia Umehia, in Ikwere local government area of the state.
Governor Fubara, while addressing Umehia, described his ongoing political travails as efforts by his detractors to destroy the soul of the state and vowed that he would not govern the state from a position of submission. Joining us to discuss this further is Honorable Tambari Sydney, Publicity Secretary, Rivers State PDP. Good morning and thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, good morning and thank you for having me.
All right, Governor Siminalayi Fubara has had quite a tough time ever since he assumed office as governor of Rivers State. It seems that he's not had breathing space. It's been one drama or the other. But now he's come to assure that, or to assert that he will not govern the state on his knees, even though it seems like every other factor is trying to push him down on his knees. How well can this assertion, how well can he stand by it? Do you see that happening? Or do you see him caving to the external pressure, internal and external pressure that he's all along been dealing with?
Well, let me state it clearly that his statement at that condolence visit summarizes all the drama that has been going on in Rivers State. It clearly shows, that our governor has been going through a lot. There are a lot he has seen. There are a lot he has observed. There are a lot he knows that even those of us in the public domain does not know. So for him to make that statement clearly summarizes the intention, of those who are fanning the embers of war, even when there is no reason for that in Rivers State. It clearly shows the reason for those who have been repealing and reenacting laws here and there for no reason. And I can tell you for free that this is a man who came in as governor almost like an underdog. Nobody gave him a chance. Everybody looked down on him. In fact, at a point, they call him deaf and dumb. He cannot speak, he cannot face the press, he cannot do this, he cannot do that. All manner of tantrums were thrown at him. But we have seen today a man who has risen to the occasion as at when due. This is a seasoned administrator and is a leader par excellence. He does not do his things making noise or ranting, about it. He's not playing to the gallery. He means business, and he meant what he said on that day.
Yeah. I mean, I also want you to speak, on, these, internal, players in this whole mess. Because over the weekend, I saw a video. I'm not sure what event this was, where there's a gathering of people. I'm still trying to investigate what event it was, where, one of them, who held the microphone was basically threatening the governor and, and saying that, they, in their caucus, are loyal to their grand patron, Nyesom Wike, the FCT minister, and, Sim Fubara, cannot do otherwise from what their patron has said. Even, accusing the governor of insulting Nyesom Wike and accusing the governor of insulting the President Bola Tinubu and whatnot. So there are these internal or these persons in the state that seem to, of course, be completely against the governor on, maybe the orders of Nyesom Wike, I believe, or at least maybe following in his, his footsteps. So how does he plan dealing with, this level of distraction every day in the state? And this you may even include those in government house, those in House of Assembly, those who, of course, are resigning as commissioners. How does he plan to govern while there are these individuals all around him?
Well, in the first place, I will not see the ranting of that young man as a distraction. It is not a distraction at all. That is a venting of anger of, a set of people who are frustrated already because they have done everything manly possible to see how they can distract the governor, but the governor has refused to be distracted. He is focused in delivering the goods of democracy, dividends of democracy to the people of Rivers State, and he is doing that so well. It is quite unfortunate that, in fact, for me as a Rivers man, I am ashamed, that this had come to the public domain where this can be discussed on national TV. No right-thinking or no sane person in his right mind will come out on national television to threaten the governor. And the group that he says he's speaking about is a group we all formed in 2013. I'm a full-fledged member of GDI. I brought GDI to my own local government, Kano local government in Rivers State. And for every one of us, out of the 23 local governments, I can tell you for free that about 17 or 18 coordinators of GDI, including all their ESCOs, are now simplified, meaning that they are supporting Sim Fubara, and they've left the FCT minister. So that's why I said this is a ranting of a frustrated man. They are empty. They cannot even come anywhere close, to members of the simplified movement or come close to the governor. And for those who are working with him, this goes a long way to tell you that Sim Fubara has understood the craft of governance and management. It is not easy when you have your enemies right under your roof, with you day in, day out, and you are managing them, you are handling them, placing them where they belong. We saw some of them who resigned, reappointed, have resigned again, and a lot of them, out of frustration, are leaving his cabinet. So this is a man who understands what he is doing. He has his onions, and he's in charge of Rivers State. And the people of Rivers State loves him.
What was the reason behind the formation of this group you're speaking of? What does the group do?
Yes, Grassroots Development Initiative, GDI, was formed by the FCT minister when he was struggling to become governor in 2013. It is an NGO where he is the grand patron, of the group. It is a grassroots group which we use to mobilize support for him right from 2013, 2014, up to 2015 when he got into power. We equally use this group to, support and fight and work for him up to 2019 to get his second tenure. And now he has served his 8 years. His time has passed. He and as a political family, we came together and supported Sasimila Yefubara to become the next governor. So what we are saying is that the same level of support, the same level of tenacity, the same level of energy, the same level of doggedness, the same level of anything you can call or you can mention that we use in supporting him from 2013 to 2015, fighting on empty stomach. We are resolved that we are going to use that same energy, that same strength to support the sitting governor. And he knows that we mean business. And he knows there's nothing he can do about it.
All right. There are people who think that Siminalayi Fubara started to, quote-unquote, lose this battle at the moment when he agreed to sign the peace pact with the former governor of Rivers State in Abuja after meeting with President Bola Tinubu. What does your organization, GDI, think about the Peace Pact and the role that he played? Do you think that that was a move he should have made? Or, do you think that it's something that he shouldn't have done at all?
Well, for a good number of us who came out, to support him, we were not happy that he signed that peace pact, because if you look at that peace pact, it was lopsided. It was a one-sided peace pact. In fact, sometimes I get to wonder if Mr. President actually presided over that discussion. But be it as it may, he explained to us that out of the respect he has for Mr. President, he signed, and for the love of the state, to ensure that there is peace and tranquility in the state. That is the reason why he signed the peace pact. And he told us that no price is too much for him to pay to ensure that there is peace. But having attended to nearly 8 points on that peace pact, the peace that he taught.
All right, Mr. Tambari, can you hear us? All right, we seem to
in their trenches, throwing all manner of tantrums at him and doing all manner of unspeakable things, embarrassing Rivers State. I will use that word, and for his magnanimity, even the State Assembly today, we are gone by decamping from PDP to APC without no known crisis. We know what Section 109, subsection 1G, recommends for such. But his signing that peace pact gave them another leverage, to become assembly members, and asked the other speaker to resign. This is the extent the governor has gone to see to it that there is peace in the state. But the enemies of the state are not relenting. They are still at what they are doing. But I can assure you that as a man who has the generality of the support of Rivers, when I mean organic grassroots support, the type that has never been witnessed before in Rivers State, even not the type we were able to garner in 2013 for GDI, not even the type that the obedience were able to gather in Rivers State here that became a problem to PDP in 2023. Imagine a coalition of both the obedience, both the GDI, and every other political party, be it Accord, Labour Party, SDP, just name it, across party line, everybody has emptied into the simplified movement to support the executive governor of Rivers State. So he's unshakable. There's no way they can remove him. He will serve his 4 years, he will contest in 2027, he will win his election, and he will do a second term if he wishes to, except he decides not to continue. That is the true position, and that is how it is in Rivers State, as I speak to you.
All right. Well, time will tell. We'll see how things turn out. But thanks for your time this morning. We would follow up, and as things unfold, we would love to have you join us again. Thanks once again for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Right. And now we'll be bringing an update regarding the landmark case. Of course, we did talk about it at the start of the show, that demolition has commenced in Landmark Beach, demolition of certain structures, and we're going to be bringing you updates. We have our correspondent Israel Eferobo, who is there. Good morning, Israel. Thank you very much for joining us. Israel, please talk to us about what exactly is going on. Yes, please give us an update regarding what exactly is going on there at Landmark Beach. Is it still known as Landmark Beach at this point?
Oh, well, some people still call it the Landmark Beach. It is still the Landmark Beach, but is there really a beach here for anyone to come to? That is the million-dollar question. Just behind me here, you would notice this section here used to be the wall that separates Oniru Beach from Landmark Beach. This came down just yesterday. Indeed, the tale of woes just continues as we are being told that any moment from now there will be trucks coming in to carry out this demolition process. That's exactly what we have been hearing since we came in last night. We kept vigil, hoping and thinking, waiting for them to step in, but that did not happen. But then again, we are vigilant to see how this pans out today. Olive?
Is there any water left there? Because they talked about how the Minister of Works did say that businesses will not be affected, but we've been seeing videos online of the beach being sandfilled. So is there any more water left? Is it completely sandfilled? What does it look like right now?
It takes us back to the question, is there any beach remaining right here, right now? What we have so far, we'll just pan around just a bit so you can see exactly what is left of the water that you're asking about. It's just a pond. And just follow me now and see exactly what this place now looks like. You can see the sand filling taking place here at Landmark Beach. And what you call the beach is not just a pond of water. As you can take a look here to my right, the left of your screen, this is exactly what is left. On the other side of the sand dunes that you can see, there is water all over that place, but then again the sand filling still continues, so there's really practically no beach left here at Landmark. If you take a look around as well, when you come around, you see that all the places that are being earmarked for demolition, these are businesses. Basically, these are businesses that are feeding families. A lot of people are depending on these businesses here. But as we have been told, they are being referred to now as shanties, and they will be demolished any moment from now. We are being told that any of the structures 50 meters away from the water, that is where the demolition will start from. And then the despair and loss of hope just continues here at Landmark Beach for those people, for the millions of people, and for the businesses that have thrived here in the last couple of years. We do not know what will happen to their businesses after now. Will there be compensation? That is one question that everyone here is asking. But if you come around here also, one thing you will notice is people still going about their normal businesses like everything is normal. But we know between those smiles and hello and hi, it's a sad tale for business owners here at Landmark Beach.
I can imagine, I mean, but tell us, how deep this gets into, there's a part that they call the Oniru Beach proper, and then the Legoshi areas, and are any of these parts going to be affected, or is that all that, maybe is left of the idea of a beach resort on Lagos Island, or at least on the island here in Lagos?
Apparently, Landmark Beach, Osarige, is not the only beach that is being affected here. Just to my left here, Oniru Beach is also affected, but there seems to be not much of hue and cry about the loss of business ventures in that part. I wonder why. Just far to my right, there's also the Good Beach. It is still functioning, and it seems like it will not be affecting that part of the super highway. But for now, it looks like it is only Landmark Beach properly that is being affected by this Lagos-Calabar super highway that will be constructed by the federal government. Sarge.
All right. Have you gotten to speak with any of the residents there? And what are they saying? Does anybody feel completely hurt by this? Or are they accepting it? As what the new normal is?
To the words out of my mouth, Sarge, they are totally, completely helpless, sad about the situation, and they just hope that this is just like a dream for someone to wake them up and tell them it is not happening. But the sad truth is, this is happening, and it will happen anytime from now. But one thing is for sure, or one thing rather that they are hoping, is for the government to also step in and do what they have termed compensation. We're told the Minister of Works, David Umahi, was here Saturday. He was also here on Sunday, and he did say that May 2nd and May 3rd will be days that the documentation for compensation will start, or rather will be done for people whose businesses will be affected by this Lagos-Calabar superhighway. Sarge?
When you say that the business is still going on as normal, are we still having the same influx of crowd that we used to, the current reality of Landmark Beach? Can we say that there's still, I mean, the businesses can be open, but do they have people who are patronizing them in the way that they used to before? What's the turnout like?
When we came in here last night, just behind my cameraman is a place where where they call Breeze Club. Now, Breeze Club, we're told, was recently launched about 2 months ago. It is actually where they call Ground Zero. That is where this whole demolition, if it happens, will commence from. It's a really exotic place, but it will not be in existence in the next few weeks or maybe next few hours. So yes, yesterday when we came in, there were people going about their normal businesses, but I really cannot say if the news of the demolition and disappearance of this beach, if it's already affecting and influencing people's lifestyle here at the beach. Are they coming? Are they not coming? Is there something holding them back? We do not know. We cannot say. But there was not much crowd when we came in here last night. But one thing is for sure, it was still buzzing, it was still lively, and business went on as usual. Olive?
All right, Israel Ferrabo, thank you so much for bringing us updates. We, of course, will be following up with the Landmark story, and if we do get to see updates regarding the other beaches, that will be the Good Beach and the other surrounding beaches, we would certainly connect with you and get more updates on that. Do stay well.
Many thanks.
Now, let's move away from Lagos State to Oyo State. The Oyo State Independent Electoral Commission, OISEC, has on Sunday announced the results of the council poll declaring candidate of the People's Democratic Party winner of all 33 local government areas. The local government election, which was conducted across the geopolitical zone of the state, was reportedly shadowed by allegations of irregularities and marred by widespread violence and intimidation, which led to the PDP winning the polls.
The African Action Congress Party and the APC have rejected the results, accusing the state electoral body and the PDP of orchestrating a show of shame and a monumental electoral heist that should not be acknowledged by well-meaning Nigerians. We're joined this morning by Femi Adeyeye, who's the National Publicity Secretary, African Action Congress. Good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Good to have you. Well, many people, aren't necessarily shocked, with the way that the elections have been run in Nigeria for a long time. The incumbent party always sweeps local government elections, and it's pretty much the same thing that's happened in Oyo State. So what exactly, would you point out as, the reasons why you are rejecting the way that the elections were handled by INEC and, of course, maybe also by the PDP?
All right, thank you very much. Let me make a very declarative statement at the beginning of this conversation, which is that there was no election. What happened that I monitored alongside many of our comrades and our members and even the people of Oyo State, is a clear, broad daylight robbery of the will of the people. So what happened on Saturday is simple put as electoral heist. That was what happened. In different places where we were expecting the elections to happen, PDP agents in a particular case was the one doing the work of the Oyo State's Independent Electoral Commission, that's OSEC. In many places, electoral materials were not brought there at all. I can tell you for some of the places where we participated, like Gelu Ward, Akinyele, local government. I can tell you about Joe. I can tell you about different places where we monitored on that day. You would just see that what's happening is a clear state capture by the Hagodi Emperor called Sheyi Makinde. These guys are not interested in local government autonomy. They are not interested in conducting elections. And we would have loved if he had come out to say, see, I'm not conducting anything. I just want to write names of some of my thugs who would then be councillors, who would be local government chairmen, instead of organizing with the state's resources, the resources of Oyo State people, organizing this charade. This is a simple sham. In places we had people, if you can, assure them that you're voting for the PDP, you will get as much as 10 ballot papers. We have this evidence. It's on social media. This particular unit is called IDC unit at Lagos local government. It was 10 ballot papers per person. If you can assure them that you are voting for the PDP, away from there at Akinyele local government, it's the same thing. In different places,
but did you
had PDP talks
through your investigation? Let me just clarify.
Organizing an election.
Can you
so
hold
what
on?
happened is coalition between OSEC and PDP talks that were sponsored by Seyi Makinde to organize this sham. So that is why we are against
but
this.
Kindly hold on. I just want to clarify, right? With the accusations that you're making, you know, do you have evidence? Were there any videos, pictures taken by your agents or by, you know, members of your party?
I didn't get that.
I'm asking, you know, the claims that you are making, do you have, you know, pictorial evidence? Were any videos made? Because you're saying now that if you claim to be voting for the PDP, you can get as much as 10 voting papers, you know, put in. So do you have any actual evidence?
Yes. Even as I speak to you, we have a video, you know, where we captured a PDP agents pasting voters register, which should actually be the work of the OSEC staff at a particular unit, Unit 15, Lagelu local government, Ward 1. They came there with the ballot papers that are not related to that particular unit. They brought that of Unit 13, and for over 5 hours, both the PDP were delaying the whole thing. And those places were the stronghold of the African Action Congress. They knew all of this. Aside this, right on the day of election, the chairman of the party, Kayode Babayomi, and also a comrade of ours, Ayodeji Ajilore, were arrested by the police, you know, detained, brutalized by a particular DPO of Sonyo police station. On an election day, the leader of an opposition party was arrested, was handcuffed, was assaulted. Then you have the video, and that's why I think the media also should do all of this work. It shouldn't be coming from us that there was no election. The media who were on ground on that day themselves know that many of these things are true, and there was no election in Oyo State. It is what has happened is a testament to some of the things we've been saying. That many of these governors are not interested in democracy. They do not understand democracy. They do not appreciate it as the best form of governance. Because all they want to do is to continue to hold on to power, and they are scared. If Seyi Makinde is so sure that he had ruled or governed Oyo State so well for the last 5 years, he should allow a free and fair and transparent.
Having said all that you said,
he shouldn't bring in talks. He shouldn't.
Having said all that you've said now,
but what has happened is that
can you please
they are not sure of what they've done.
All right, having said all you said, right? You said there are no elections. What is your ask? And do you see that happening?
What
are you asking for? Are you asking for?
We're asking So we had a press conference after the sham, you know, before they started releasing results. And it will shock you that in places where the African Action Congress did not even contest at all, that we had no candidates, we were being allocated figures because we understand that this is the real opposition party in the state. I can tell you for Egbeda local government, we saw some figures there, but we didn't contest there. We saw for Ibarapa Central local government. We didn't contest there. So what we are asking, number one, is for the arrests of the DPO who made sure that this election did not even take place at all. That's the DPO of Sonyo police station who assaulted the party chairman in the state. That's number one. Number two, on the general note, is that this sham that was conducted on Saturday should be cancelled outrightly, because this is not an election. Both the old, the young, the aged, everybody in Oyo State saw the broad daylight robbery that happened on Saturday, just because these guys are scared of what was coming from them. And we were ready. We told them that you cannot steal the mandate of the African Action Congress and go to sleep. This is not eyes on the judiciary. We have eyes on the streets, and we will also take you to court. And that is what is happening. So we are calling for the cancellation of this whole sham, because I don't want to call it an election, because it falls short of all the standards of what a pure, a transparent or fair electoral process should be, where you have election irregularities, where you have ballot papers being stuffed into a box. For media people who were with us that day, because we were moving around with some of them, You would walk into a unit and you would just find 5 people. But when you look at the ballot box, it is already stuffed with papers.
All right, we've run out of time. We've run out of time for this conversation.
A councillor let me add this. Let me quickly add this. In a place like Akinyele, a councillor under the PDP had 66,000 votes. But President Tinubu in that same local government, had 20,000 votes. Even Seyi Makinde himself had 30,000. So what happened? That must be some abracadabra or some kind of mathematics.
All right, as quickly as possible, in 10 seconds. In 10 seconds.
Like the Seyi Makinde, and they need to be stopped.
All right, in 10 seconds, this is pretty much a yes or no answer. Having said all this, you've called for what you want. Do you see this happening? What you've asked for, do you see it happening? Hello, are you there with us? All right, it seems that we have lost.
Let's walk. I can hear you now.
Yes, I said as quickly as possible, yes or no.
Do
you see this happening? You've asked that it be, you've made some requests. Do you see this request being granted?
No, as I speak to you, no, we are not seeking permission for any of
Okay, but do you see it happening?
As I speak to you, a protest is going to take place this morning. A massive protest by Oyo State people is going to take place this morning at Total Gardens. And it will be marching down to the Oyo State Secretariat. We told them that if you do this fraud that you want to do, you will not sleep. So we are not asking them out of their magnanimity to allow us or to say yes or no. What we are saying is that we're going to force them to do the right thing.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll be following up with the updates regarding the elections and even the protests. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us. Now let's look through the papers this morning to see what they're saying. Joining us this morning is Public Affairs Analyst Dotun Ojo. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. It's good to be here. Good morning. Good morning.
I've been informed that you've come from a very important journey. I'm sure we're going to look into the details of that journey because I'm sure the journey will be talked about on the front pages of the newspaper. Let's begin with this Nigerian newspaper this morning. On the front page of this Nigerian newspaper, the big story we're looking at here is, without removal of fuel subsidy, Nigeria would have gone bankrupt. Tinubu speaks at World Economic Forum in Saudi Arabia. Secures $600 million investment for seaport infrastructure development. Abuja Roads project hits 98% completion. Wike says its promise kept. FCT on red alert over Suleja inmates escape. Boko Haram bandits kill 23 civilian JTF members in Borno, Sokoto. SERAP sues NNPCL over failure to account for missing $2.04 billion, 164 billion naira oil revenues. Hard times. Nigerians devise survival strategies. Workers trek long distances before boarding buses. Okay, your assignment is not yet here, but let's look at what we have here. President Bola Tinubu says that without removal of fuel subsidy, Nigeria would have gone bankrupt. True or false?
True. As a nation, we cannot continue to polish the pocket of a few privileged individuals. And I'm going to tell you a story of somebody who was flying in our airport here in Lagos and pointed to some private jets and said, these are the product of oil subsidy. And yes, and a few Nigerians had actually made a lot of money from it. The one I know of is a man who you can't mention on television, who will collect subsidy and actually transport the fuel out of neighboring countries to sell. He has collected subsidy on them. And you know that as at the time we were doing 190 something per liter or so, they were doing about 300 naira at some of the neighboring countries. So a few Nigerians were just getting the money, and there was nothing the government could do because the government lacked the courage, as it were, to actually face it headlong. And when a government came on board and said we could not continue, that's President Goodluck Jonathan. You remember what the APC people did to him. They all gathered together and they wanted to make the nation ungovernable. It is the reality of the century. We cannot continue to sustain that which is not sustainable. And fuel subsidy at that point in time was seriously not sustainable because of the management, because the few people that are involved in it are just taking the money. So
I'm always very skeptical when there is a very sensational way to describe these things. I feel like this line has been repeated so long, and it was almost starting to sound like propaganda. Oh, there's few people just enjoying Nigeria's Commonwealth. these few people, these few criminals. It's always a sensitive way to state it, and maybe to get Nigerians to back the government and their whatever decisions that they want to make. And it's not just in Nigeria. This same propaganda style of painting stories happens all around the world, especially in the United States. So I'm always very skeptical when I hear that. They challenged, Goodluck Jonathan, like you said. The current president was one of the people who led, the protest against Goodluck Jonathan in 2012. Right now, he's the one doing it. And I've said it repeatedly that we claim to have removed subsidy, but it doesn't make any sense to have removed subsidy if you're paying 600 naira per litre. If a dollar is exchanged for 1,500, 1,700, 1,200, then we should be paying way more for subsidy. Kaduna State governor has said, I was paying more for a litre of petrol. But the Kaduna State governor did also mention that we're paying more for subsidy now than we're paying before. So, if we just keep repeating this, and because there's no answer to those things that I've just mentioned, so what they do is just continue repeating these few people that are enjoying Nigeria's Commonwealth, so that you
the reality is that there's no one person, and it's so emotional sometimes when you get to that point. There's no one person who does not know the solution to Nigerian problem. And doing what we know is what the problem is. And what is the solution? The solution as it is that we have a peculiar situation in our hand. If Nigerians, as of today, we consume about 52 million liters of petrol per day, that's the calculation. If we do that and we have refineries, our refineries put together, we do about 450,000 liters per day. That's the Nigerian in full capacity. So the solution is for us to have sat in the first place and say, okay, how do we boycott dollar in our process of giving Nigerians fuel? It is doable. It is strategic. So when you do this, that means that you will be able to feed your nation, and whatever it is that is remaining, you can export as refined oil. In fact, when you export refined petrol today to neighboring countries, you will make more money than subsidy. So the problem is that when we cannot but talk about the few individuals, but this is the addition to it. The few individuals that we are talking about, some of them are in government. The few individuals we talk about, some of them are powerful people within even the APC government. So it makes it exceedingly difficult, if not practically impossible, for us to be able to tackle it headlong. The solution is for us, and I heard government talk. Incidentally, when you take me to a field where I know how to play very well, I specifically, when I hear government talk about, when we make our refineries work, it's not going to affect the prices of petrol, I say that's a lazy way to put across a strategic method that will have benefited the people. We own the oil, we own the fuel, we own the refinery. So we can actually sit down as a nation. It's just like the highest producer of cocoa today, maybe Cote d'Ivoire, will transport cocoa from their country to the West. The West determines the price. But if today Cote d'Ivoire decide to say that we want to produce chocolate, they can decide it and decide the price within the shores of their country. So I totally understand what you said, but the solution is very simple. Make these refineries work. Let's organize a peculiar system of making Nigerians benefit directly from the refinery.
I agree. Also, I don't know which would have been a better investment, fixing refineries or Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. I'm not sure which of them would, have made more sense, in today's Nigeria.
APC,
it's easier to blame these.
Yeah, APC government generally is about more money, and I've said it repeatedly, and that's one of the issues I have. When you put the burden of taxation on the poor citizens, you drive them from poverty to abject or extreme poverty. So APC, because this road you are talking about now will be told at the end of the day. So it's something that will bring money quickly. It's always more money. So it's about parity, and it's very sad.
All right.
Yeah. Let's move to the next paper this morning on the front page of the Daily Independent. Daily
Independent there says Nigeria, well, we just spoke about that. Nigeria would have gone bankrupt without subsidy cut. That's from President Tinubu. Ondo gubernatorial Aida Tiwa supporter shot dead by unknown gunmen. 19 burned to death in Kogi auto crash. Also, Rivers crisis. Local government chairman asked courts to order state and IGP and others to secure them. Not sure what's going on in that state. APC kicks as PDP clears all 33 council seats in Oyo local government. State police will worsen security situation, says Suswam. And also, SERAP sues NNPC to account for $2.04 billion, 164 billion naira oil revenues. And these are the things that we never really focus on. It's easy. It's such a lazy, and this is the part that maybe just frustrates me. Like, it's such a lazy approach to simply just blame these mystery individuals. You will never hear their names. You will never know who they are. This mystery, a few rich individuals that are, defrauding Nigeria with oil subsidy. Just blame them, and never actually tackle it. Don't build any refineries. Don't, go through NNPC's books and see how much we're losing. Yeah. Don't try to reduce Nigeria's oil production capacity by blocking all the leakages in the creeks. Many oil companies are shutting down. You may not see it in the news, but they're closing their books in Nigeria today because they've realized that they cannot even continue to meet up with production targets.
Now, before you respond
we're not
to
doing any of all of that. What we're simply doing is blame these few individuals and then put the burden on Nigerians to pay that, excess.
Yeah, let's take a call from Elder David before you come to respond to that. Good morning, Elder David. Thank you for calling. Please go ahead with your comment.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Good morning. Please go ahead.
David from Alimo, sir.
All right. Thank you very much for calling.
Thank you very much. The removal of fuel subsidy, they have equally bring suffering, but we should look in different ways. Without the eyes mind, when we are speaking, we should remember that God judged everybody by character. If the fuel subsidy was not removed, Nigerian, we could have go bankruptcy. Yes, I confirm it. Let me tell you, I'm a victim of what Obasanjo did when he closed down 34 parastatals, 2004. And when the fuel subsidy, Osimole went to prison twice because of it, on issue of fuel subsidy. And when this government was subsiding, when Buhari came in, the same people who are now annoyed with Tinubu now, we are the same people criticizing him. Tinubu did not remove it. When Buhari was going, because some people who will collect this money, use it to import sand and others, and divert it to other places, then you know the gain that has come. Some local government that were getting 200 million before the fuel subsidy removal, they are getting 900 and something million. Look at the increase of workers. Look at other advantage we are getting. So anybody that is against it, they are the agents of those party members that failed the election. And if they were there, it would have been worse than this. The only thing I'm still talking is that even the best American president, he comes to Nigeria here, it will take him almost 4 years before you can judge him.
All right.
The problem created by Trump in America, Biden is still trying to solve it.
All right. Thank you very much, sir, for calling.
Right.
Please.
Yeah, let's speak on Oyo State. I think
yes.
In the interest of time, we already spoke about 4.
Okay, so I'm going to just put everything together, and I'll go back to what I said earlier, that we do know the solution to all our problems. And he talked about character. In one of my books, I actually called something character of leadership. And the C there means courage, your ability to do to your friend what you can do to your enemy, and your ability to do for your enemy what you can do for your friend. The inability of government most of the time is to just say, oh, people are against my government, without naming them, without bringing them to book. And this cannot continue. One of the solutions that we have, he also talked about, oh, some of the local governments are getting more money, as it were, because of the fuel, this thing. But that money is not translating to the development that people want. Why? Because the state government will sit in one place. Maybe 300 million comes to a particular local government. They take 290. They just send 10 million. Because local government is the nearest arm of government to the people. Most of the developments that are supposed to happen and benefit the people directly, they are not happening. And what is the solution? And that's why I said we all know the solution is now they've conducted the election in Oyo State. All the local government, PDP won. Does it mean that PDP has done so well to the point that there's not one person inside another party who can win? And this has been what has been happening across board. What is the solution? How did we even get to this point of electing bad leaders at every point in time?
They say they are protesting today in Oyo.
It will get to that point. You see, we always blame INEC, and I've worked with INEC very closely. Sometimes I just shake my head. Some of these state-owned election commissions are worse than INEC. So we must continue. If today, for example, we decide to say, oh, we want to put every election in the hand of INEC, and how are we going to get best leader? Start from the local government. conduct the local government election in the 774 local government, go to House of Assembly, do all the House of Assembly member. By the time you do it, you discover that all the 19 political parties in Nigeria, we have representatives across board. Then you go to the main election, which is presidential. You'll be able to elect somebody who knows the nation. But once you start by electing the president and you cut all the corner, whosoever you put or pick as your president will determine who becomes your governor, who becomes your House of Reps member, who becomes your House of Assembly member.
All right.
We cannot continue like this.
Let's take this call from Tony, calling from Benue State. Good morning. Thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Good morning. Well, my talk is just simple. If Tinubu knows that fuel subsidy is not good for Nigeria, I will appeal to him to apologize to Goodluck Jonathan. During the time that Goodluck Jonathan wanted to remove it, he was in forefront and then he muzzled it out. And then for his own now, he knows that it is good. For me, what I expected what I expected him to do is that if the fuel subsidy is scam, why not go against those people that are doing scam in that sector and then deal with them? To me, removing fuel subsidy is a very big pain to Nigerians. This morning I bought fuel at 850 naira per 1 liter. Times by the liter that I bought there. And tomorrow, this one that I bought today may not sustain. Tomorrow I'll still buy another one in order to enable me to do my business. It's quite unfortunate.
Very unfortunate. Thank you for calling.
I was even saying this morning, I was telling my friend that I bought for 700. My driver had to correct me that no, it was 720. I bought for 720 in Accra yesterday, and it's been like that. Now, whatever it is that we pay is heavily dependent on what the dollar is saying. Anytime dollar goes up, it's affected. And
everything is affected.
Everything.
Yeah, but when the dollar was 1,800, you didn't before President.
The thing is that government has been paying subsidy again, incidentally so. So what they lack the courage to now, if you want to calculate with the current reality now, the landing cost will be buying petrol for about 1,200. So somehow what they did is that the government did a research on the real value of Naira, and they came up to say that Naira real value is around 680. So by calculating so they pay NNPC. Instead of paying NNPC the current dollar rate, they give dollar to NNPC at the rate of about 680 Naira. But when you calculate that very closely, you discover that we are even paying more subsidy now, but it will have been worse. Yes.
Anyway, Dr. John, thank you very much for joining us. We have one more call. Let's take our final call. Chidi from Lagos. Good morning, Chidi. Thank you for calling. Please go ahead. All right. Chidi, you might want to call us back tomorrow when we're reviewing the papers at the same time tomorrow. But thank you very much, Mr. John, for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
And we hope that you can recover from the journey that you made to Oyo State.
Thank you. Ondo State.
Ondo State,
but also very strong points that you made about Oyo State, and how the elections, once they're seemingly fraudulent from the top, it trickles down all the way. And I said it earlier, that it has been the way that things have worked in Nigeria. The state governor basically almost determines who are the local government chairman, who makes up the State House of Assembly.
I'm sorry.
So there's almost no opposition.
Can I quickly add this, please? One of my friends was appointed the local government chairman. So the governor will take all the money and give him 1 million as security vote. That one just say, this 1 million too is enough. I will not come to the local government. And that's how they have damaged the local government system in Nigeria.
There's so much, it's a can of worms that needs to be opened, but we'll ask the questions, we'll keep talking about it, and hopefully we can get the change that we seek. We'll go on a break, and when we come back, we're looking at Nigeria's judiciary. Stay with us.
During a two-day national summit on justice sector reforms held in Abuja on Thursday, legal experts and key stakeholders in the justice system have called for significant changes in the appointment of judges and court administration nationwide. Lawyers have expressed concerns regarding the dual role of the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Olukayode Ariwola, who serves as both the chairman of the National Judicial Commission, NJC, and the Federal Judicial Service Commission. Critics condemn the extensive powers wielded by the CJN, particularly as the NJC is automatically chaired by the CJN. Proposed reforms aim to curtail the vast authority of the CJN's office and mitigate the undue influence of the CJN and other court heads in judicial institution administration. We're joined this morning by Sam Kagbo, who's a senior advocate of Nigeria. Good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Good to have you. Do you agree with these reforms that have been proposed? Do you also see the challenge that has been pointed out here?
Okay, let me look at it this way, because if I say yes or no, it may not amount to anything. The Chief Justice of Nigeria is both a serving justice of the Court of Appeal and the administrative head of the entire judiciary. That in itself is a very powerful, important, and engaging position. In addition to that, he is also, like you rightly pointed out, the chairman of the Federal Judicial Service Commission. This is the commission that audits, I wouldn't say selects, but audits those that are considered to be qualified for appointment into the high courts, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court. It's a very serious position. And beyond that, he is also the chairman of the National Judicial Council, which in itself is also the recommender of those to be appointed as judges, justices of the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. This is also chaired by the Chief Justice of Nigeria. This and the Chief Justice, because of his office and because of the functions of the National Judicial Council, is also the administrator of the funds of the judiciary. Important office, important position. And what has been happening over the years, if you see, let's take those three items that I've discussed about: the appointment, the administration, and the control of the finance of the judiciary. Let's start with the appointments. From the books, if you look at the books, if the process were to be handled and managed by an AI, we would have had what? One of the most fantastic judicial officials in the world, because the books are very clear. Before you are appointed as a judge or as a justice of the judge of the High Court, a justice of the Court of Appeal, a justice of the Supreme Court, you must be first and foremost a lawyer. And the number of years post-call you ought to have had ranges between 10 and 15. That by itself would have exposed you to some grinding within the rules of the legal profession. The rules of the legal profession call for higher standard. I've also had to say this over and over, and I'm saying so, than that which you require from what? An imam or a bishop. If you take a look at the rules for you to be a lawyer and remain as a lawyer, if those rules are actually implemented, you will be much more forthright, and you will be of a better integrity and personality than an imam or a pastor or a bishop, in fact. So it is from among the lawyers, elite class, whose standards should be over and above the average, that what? Lawyers or judges and justices are to be appointed. The rule does not say that a justice of the Court of Appeal should come from what, or should be promoted from the High Court. And the Constitution does not say a justice of the Supreme Court should be promoted from the Court of Appeal to the Supreme Court, said no. If you are a lawyer of 15 years standing, you are qualified to be a justice of the Supreme Court. But what has happened over the years? The judiciary has hijacked that. They've appropriated that process and ensured that no outsider comes in. In the 60s, we had the cases of Elias and a few number of gentlemen who were appointed from public, private practice or the universities into the Supreme Court, and they did fantastically well, if that English is correct. But over the years, no. They've appropriated it, excluded lawyers, practicing lawyers. If you are not a judge, you cannot get into any of those 3 tiers. And that has been the problem, because here it is. There are sectors and areas of the law that require some form of expertise, just like they are doing for the Sharia. They leave a quota for Sharia, that you must have a background in Sharia before you could what? Come in as the Justice of the Court of Appeal or Supreme Court. But all other areas, take a look at emerging areas like AI, intellectual property. These are very, very technical areas that you would have needed people either from the academia or people of established expertise from the private practice. But oh no, those people are shut out. Because what? The judiciary has appropriated the process, and they will tell you over the dead body, you wouldn't come from without.
So
that in itself is a problem.
And
who is at top of it? The CJ.
And who can correct this, if I may ask? Now that you've highlighted these challenges, and if the CJN is at the top of it, who can make this correction?
That's what I'm saying, and that is why the stakeholders are reacting the way they are reacting, because what? It's more or less a vote of no confidence on the system, and perhaps what? The performance of the office of the Chief Justice of Nigeria over the years. Because if indeed, like I have said, the system was allowed to function the way it is in the books, we wouldn't be having this. But take a look at those who are being appointed as judges of the courts of records. Take a look at their background. Almost all of them are coming from either relationships they have with existing judges or politicians who would say, okay, like in my state, if the NJC say, okay, we want you to have 7 judges to add to your own bench, the governor would say, okay, I will take 5. CJ takes 2. And that's the way it is. Once that list comes from the governor and what do you call it, piloted by the CJ, that is the way it's going to be.
So Leonard SAN, is it maybe time to revisit the rules for, appointing these judges and the role that the executive has to play? Some have argued that the executive should be totally removed from issues concerning the appointment of the judiciary.
They shouldn't have any business with it. Okay. But in the books, theirs is for what? Confirmation. But in actual fact, they are the pilots of the process. You cannot be a judge of a state without what? The signature of the or the authorization of the governor. And you ask the question, what is the function of the state judicial commissions or the Federal Judicial Commission? When you look at the composition of that body, you'll be amazed, because what? It comprised people of sterling standing in the profession and in the judiciary. And yet these people are bypassed, and the entire process is piloted most time in the state. The 3 people that handle the process, I am saying so, quote me, the CJ, he's, what do you call it, he's chief registrar, and the governor's office. That's what you have. But meanwhile, the system in the books is layered to ensure that, yes, you have the judicial commissions, then you have the agency, which is also what? Constituted by every rank and file. The CJ, the president of the Court of Appeal, chief judges, lawyers, and even people from the private sector who have what? Outstanding character. And yet, these people are bypassed because of what? The commanding nature of the office of the CJ. And whatever he says, hey, that's what matters. And one would ask, what else would you want the books to do? Because at the end of the day, no matter how fine your letters are, the human angle would subvert that. That is the problem here.
All right.
And now you come to the other aspect of it. Management, control, and disbursement of the funds meant for the judiciary.
Yeah.
We are scandalized to a point where most of us said, oh no, this shouldn't have happened. Whereby you see the justices of the Supreme Court more or less rebelling to say, oh no, we've had enough. Gentlemen, you are misusing our funds and we are starving, to the point that they forced a CJN to resign. Where on earth would you have what? Imagine that that would happen.
Yeah.
Only here. And what am I talking about? The human angle.
All right. I want, before we go.
How do we humanize ourselves to the point that what? The fine books would be translated in fine practice. The fine law would what? Be translated and expressed what? In fine habits.
Leonard SAN, you've highlighted these key problems, and thank you very much for sharing your standpoint. We hope that the judiciary can look within and that they can start to see these issues and look for the way out to resolve this. Thank you so much for your time with us this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right. It's time for us to ask very important questions. We do this every other morning here on Breakfast Central, where we are asking which way Nigeria, tugging at some of the questions that are, in our hearts, but properly expressed with our own thoughts, and we'll be having that in a moment.
Good morning once again, Nigerians. On today's Which Way Nigeria, I am saying the EFCC is on trial. Yes, it is. Now, since its founding in 2003 by the Obasanjo administration, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has had its work pretty much cut out for it to investigate financial crimes like advance fee fraud and money laundering. There are varying views on how the agency has performed since it was established. Some, of course, would strongly argue that it has been a shadow of itself and basically a tool to punish opposition figures for each government. Now, some would say otherwise and also praise the agency for all it has achieved. And of course, everyone has good points for the way that they see the agency and how it has fared. Now, just this year alone, the agency shared that it had recovered 30 billion naira from the humanitarian ministry. The chairman of the agency also stated that the agency had recovered more than 120 billion naira within the last 6 months. And this, of course, are certain things that should be commended. But while we commend the EFCC for its strides in recovering these funds, something still seems to be lacking, which would maybe have been a stronger deterrent to some extent from those stealing these billions of naira. And this is actually seeing high-profile individuals jailed for financial crimes. I mean, politicians. It's difficult to imagine that hundreds of billions of naira meant for development in states across the country just somehow lead to no development, and yet we see no governors, no politicians, no major political figures being made to give proper account for the mismanagement of these funds. And we're talking trillions of naira. If you remember what happened with the NDDC, I mean, that's just a faint example, that a lot of Nigerians will remember. The hundreds of billions of naira. But still, nobody just seems to be asked questions. Now, in the last few weeks, the EFCC versus Yahaya Bello has been the latest soap opera Nigerians have been entertained by. The agency accuses the former Kogi governor of misappropriating more than 80 billion naira. Now, in this current soap opera, we have seen accusations, we've seen invitations, a standoff in the Federal Capital Territory. We've also seen a rescue mission by the current governor. We've seen a case being withdrawn by the EFCC. We've heard of the governor even asking the agency to come to his village to eat, and wine and dine with him and, have further discussions, plus tales of more than $700,000 worth of school fees. All of these things have come into the latest soap opera concerning the EFCC and the Kogi State governor. Now, all of this drama is why I have said that the EFCC is now also on trial, because Nigerians are patiently waiting to see what becomes of all this drama, this new, drama that everyone's watching. And if the EFCC, under its new leadership of Olanipekun Olukoyede, will truly be able to prove all these allegations against the former governor, to secure a proper conviction after its accusations of 80 billion naira misappropriation. There, of course, are already some red flags in this story, and one of them is when the EFCC chairman, said that he asked Yahaya Bello to come to his office through the back door, like, a VIP. This is someone that you're accusing of misappropriating billions of naira. So what kind of discussion did the EFCC chairman seek with him that accorded him such VIP treatment? How and why are we hoping to fight corruption if we have preferential treatment for certain types of accused? And how do you think that, that case would eventually end up if you're giving, someone who's accused of stealing billions of naira such treatment? The EFCC must at this time show Nigerians that it truly does have new leadership. It has a new way of doing things, a new drive in the fight against corruption, and prove the doubters wrong. All of those unbelievers who claim that the agency is inefficient when it comes to high-profile cases. Those who accuse the agency of only being able to bark and bite when it comes to the likes of Bobrisky, but turns to, butterflies when it's a case against a big politician. Yes, of course, also fair to accept that the Nigerian judiciary also has a role to play here. As many would say, one of the reasons we barely see high-profile individuals get convicted and jailed is because of the loopholes in the criminal justice system here in Nigeria. But again, the EFCC and its new chairman are on trial in the eyes of Nigerians. Good morning, Nigerians.
The EFCC indeed is on trial and has questions to answer. As we come to the end of the show, just to remind you that demolitions have, of course, commenced at Landmark Beach. At this point, I think it's safe to refer to it as Landmark, seeing as the beach is being filled. And what is left of the beach, according to our correspondent, Israel Eferobo, is that the beach is now looking more like a pond, as we can see that there is sand filling happening currently at that place. Now, the Minister of Works did visit and say that there will, of course, be that this will not affect structures and businesses there, but the question that Nigerians ask is, what exactly is the reason why people patronize the businesses there? It's because of the attraction of the beach, and now that the beach isn't there, do we get to see that these businesses will, of course, still thrive the way that they were thriving when there was a beach? Also, it's just to ask what exactly becomes of them for those who have been promised compensation. How much compensation will come to them? We'll keep following up with the Landmark story, and we'll keep asking these questions and hoping to see how this eventually turns out in favor of all the parties involved. It's been quite the day we've had, first day of the week. Thank you for joining us. I don't think that we've had as much negative news today as we typically would have. It's not been, there has been some.
Depends on your perspective. I saw, negative news all over.
Not all over.
Petrol scarcity, what happened in Oyo State with the elections. Of course, more conversations concerning petrol scarcity, people complaining about the price of electricity. There wasn't anything positive in the whole.
I know. I'm just, maybe the part I'm thinking about, the positive part I'm thinking about is today's 29th of April, and most people will start to pay salaries from today in most organizations. But unfortunately, the salary you are getting paid, you're using it to sustain a lifestyle that is not really, like they say in Nigeria, in no balance.
A few companies start paying from like the 24th, 25th.
Yeah.
So it depends on where you work, But like I said, those things don't matter to me because I work for passion. I don't work, because of, salary.
Right. Thank you very much. And I'm really glad that HR has taken note of the fact that you work for passion, and your salary will be used to further the lives of the rest of us who work for money. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We'll be back again same time, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. West African time tomorrow. I am Olive Emodi.
And I am Osaogie Ogbon.
Have a good day.